In this video, I'm going to answer the question, how much does each watt of electricity cost per year? In other words, how much does it cost to use 1 watt of electricity for an entire year? So on most electric bills, you will see the abbreviation or acronym kWh, and that stands for kilowatt hours. And that represents the amount of energy used in 1,000 watts over a time period of 1 hour. So first we're going to calculate the cost per kilowatt hour. So the units on that number will be in dollars per hour. Alright, so here's an example of an electric bill. And right here in this row we have the number of kilowatt hours used. So if I trace this across, this person used 174 kilowatt hours, and the price of 174 kilowatt hours is right here in boldface. That is $24.38. Okay, so it costs this much to use 174 kilowatt hours. So I'm going to divide the price by the number of kilowatt hours. So I want the cost in dollars in the numerator, and from the bill that we just looked at, that was $24.38. Okay, and the number of kilowatt hours used was 174. So I'll do this on the calculator, and rounding off I get 0.14011 dollars per kilowatt hour. Okay, so it's approximately 14 cents. Now, if you want your most accurate answer, instead of rounding off, you can just store whatever answer you got. You can store that answer in the calculator. Now, just looking at the original question, if we were to determine the units, we're looking to find how much does each watt of electricity cost per year. So since we're looking at a cost, okay, it's going to be in dollars. And that would be dollars per watt. But it's watts over a period of 1 year rather than hours. So really the units will be dollars per watt year. Alright, so basically from the answer we just got, we want to convert kilowatts to just regular watts, and we want to convert hours to years, because this is in terms of hours, but we want it in terms of years. Alright. So just some conversion factors here. We said at the beginning that 1 kilowatt is equivalent to 1,000 watts. We know that there's 24 hours in a day. And we know that there's 365.25 days in 1 year. Okay, the 0.25 is to account for leap year, but it probably won't make much difference. Anyhow, when you have something equals something in terms of a conversion factor, you can multiply by 1 over the other. In other words, you can put 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, depending on which units you want to cancel. So let's start with the answer that we just got. We have 0.14011, and that is in dollars per kilowatt hour. Alright. Now we wanted to convert kilowatts to regular watts. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to multiply it by this conversion right here. Now you can cancel units just like you cancel numbers. Okay, since we have kilowatts in the denominator, I want kilowatts in the numerator right here. This way kilowatts over kilowatts cancels. Alright, so 1 kilowatt in the numerator equals 1,000 watts in the denominator. Alright, and now we can cancel kilowatts and kilowatts. Okay, we're still left with the hours. And we want to convert hours to years. Alright, so let's see. We have hours in the denominator, and we want hours to cancel. So hours in the denominator, here we want it in the numerator. Alright, we said 24 hours is 1 day. So 24 hours in the numerator and 1 day in the denominator. Okay, and now hours divided by hours cancels. And finally, we don't want days, we want years. Remember, the original question asks in terms of years. So one more fraction here. Alright, days is in the denominator, so I want days in the numerator right here. Alright, so that's 365.25. And that equals 1 year. Okay, days divided by days cancel. And now the units left are dollars per watt year. So that's perfect. Alright, so let's see. I will multiply the numerators first. We have 0.14011 times 1 times 24 times 365.25. You do that, hit equals, and then in the denominator we have 1,000 times 1 times 1. Times 1 does nothing, so the only denominator is 1,000. So I'll just multiply these numerators, hit equals, and then divide by 1,000. Okay, on my calculator, 0.14011 times 1, which does nothing, times 24 times 365.25. Hit equals, and then divide by 1,000. And rounding off, well, I'll round off a little bit at first. I get 1.2282. Alright, since we're talking in terms of dollars, I'll round off to the nearest cent. So since the third decimal is 5 or more, this gets rounded up. So it's going to be approximately $1.23. And that is going to be per watt hour. So this is what it costs to run a watt for a full year. Okay, and if you wanted to do like an 8-watt light bulb for a full year, just multiply this by 8. Now, if you're worried about round off errors, like I said, you can store this answer in the calculator. You do this and store the answer rather than rounding off. Or what you can do is do this calculation all in one step. Instead of this step here, you take this fraction and that would go right here, okay, in place of this number. And then you would just multiply numerators, hit equals, and divide by parentheses, multiply the denominators, close parentheses, and hit equals. One small mistake, this is not hours right here. This is supposed to be watt years. Okay, so that's $1.23 for each watt over a period of 1 year.